Welcome to the Get Your Healthy Life podcast, the space where hope, healing, and holistic wisdom come together.
Yeah, it does to me just because when I evaluate myself in anything that I've experienced, knowing that, when you have one issue and you don't address it right away, that it does throw something else off in the body. Yeah. So that makes sense to me anyways. So how did you get into Qigong and Tai Chi?
When I was in my early 20s, I was still living in South Africa. That's where I'm from. And I was actually interested in self-defense. And so somebody said, Tai Chi is a really good way to learn self-defense, while also doing a mind-body exercise. I think you'll like it. And so I went and I found a Tai Chi class. It was the Taoist Tai Chi Society, the International Taoist Tai Chi Society, and they had a class at a community center. And I got really lucky. I found an amazing teacher, and she approached Tai Chi as everything that it is. A lot of teachers here that I find they teach Tai Chi only as a martial art or only as a healing spiritual practice or only as a form of traditional Chinese medicine or only as a way of stretching. She taught every aspect that is Tai Chi, and she also taught Qigong, which is where I first encountered Qigong. The Taoist Society is big on Qigong, so at least the first half of each class was dedicated to Qigong and breath work. And I was kind of like, oh, this is not what I came for. Early 20s, I'm impatient. I want to get something out of my workout.
Mhm.
Um, but then, and at that point, I was also very much like, it's not real if it's not science. If it's not Western science, it's not a real thing. Do you have proof? And one day I stood in class and we were doing the lion plays with ball breathing meditation. And I started to feel something between my palms, something physical. I felt a physical force repelling my hands away from one another and pulling them towards each other as I was breathing. And as my body was coordinated and everything was working in unison. And I was like, what is this thing? I shouldn't be feeling this. This is not something that I can explain. And so I got curious and I started asking questions and I started learning more. And then I did classes with them for a few years and I moved to Taiwan and I lived in Asia for 4 years. And there I just kind of joined up with various groups and people who didn't even speak English a lot of the times and practiced with them. So learned a lot more. And when you're practicing with a group or with somebody that doesn't speak English, it's much easier to practice Qigong than Tai Chi
Mhm.
because there's more standing still and repeating the same movement over and over. In Tai Chi, there's a lot of moving, and it also depends on you knowing the same forms as everybody else that's practicing it, because there's a lot of moving, a lot of turning, a lot of footwork, a lot of everything that goes into it. So that in that sense, I did a lot more Qigong exercises than Tai Chi. And that part was also helpful for me because I got to experience Qigong and really experience what it was doing in my body without somebody else telling me what it's supposed to feel like. So, and at that point, I had enough of the foundations of how I should keep my body and stuff like that to be able to do it correctly,
Mm.
or properly. And then I came to America and I didn't do it for a few years. I was actually completely lost touch with all of my spiritual practices for a few years, dark time in my life. And then also the time that my PTSD came from. And then after a few years, I started looking again. I found a teacher. I went to a few classes and she was like, oh, some Tai Chi and Qigong, maybe we can teach one another. I was like, oh no, I'm not ready to teach anybody. And then after I went to a few of her classes, I was like, oh, I am way more ready to teach than this person. So that's how I got into teaching.
Wow, that's amazing. So Qigong and Tai Chi are, I guess, a part of one another, but what is the difference?
Good question. So,
Hmm.
Qigong is, so we said it's a branch of traditional Chinese medicine. So traditional Chinese medicine has herbalism, acupuncture, all of the above. And Qigong is one of the branches. It's the branch that utilizes exercise. And under the Qigong umbrella, traditional Chinese practitioner, or sorry, a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner who uses Qigong might prescribe Qigong for a variety of reasons. One might be just daily maintenance Qigong, things like the Beijing Health Qigong. Those are things you have to do every day to get to the ripe old age of 120, you know. When you go to the
Mhm.
parks in Asia, you'll see a bunch of people in their 80s, 90s, early 100s doing the same Qigong movements every day. Then there's some specific exercises that they might prescribe if you have a specific condition that you're treating, such as if you're dealing with adrenal fatigue, they might tell you to do knock on the door to life, for example. And then if you apply the principles of Qigong and the way that you understand energy moves and the way that you can control the flow of energy using pressure points, and you apply that as a martial art, that is Tai Chi. So Tai Chi is also a part of, it's one of the branches of Kung Fu.
Mhm.
Uh, all of the branches of Kung Fu, to an extent, utilize the principles of the flow of energy, some more so than others. Tai Chi very much focuses on slow movement and understanding how you feel that energy inside your own body before you start applying it to controlling somebody else.
Interesting. So Tai Chi, you mentioned, what did you mention? Like five different aspects, to include, I guess, moving slow, the martial art, you said medicine, you mentioned.
Yeah, so Tai Chi can be, it is all of the above. It is a moving meditation, right? It is a mind body exercise. It is a martial art. So it is something that you can actually use to fight, although it will take decades to get really good at fighting with Tai Chi. And
Mm.
I am of the opinion, and a lot of my teachers are of the opinion, that Tai Chi is not always the most effective martial arts. So if you look at MMA fighters, for example, that incorporate Tai Chi, they also have things like Muay Thai and Jiu Jitsu under
Mhm.
their belt. Tai Chi's kicks, for example, are awful for self-defense. Muay Thai has much better kicks.
Mhm.
So you might mix it up if you're actually trying to fight with it. So it's a moving meditation, martial arts. It is a great way to stretch, especially for people who have challenges, which mean that they can't go down on a mat. If you are 100% mobile and you want to get a really good stretch in and you're physically fit and healthy, then yoga is probably a better stretch than Tai Chi. But if you can't go down on the ground, or if you don't have a place to practice yoga, you just want to practice outside, Tai Chi is a really good option and it's got really good stretches. So what's the other ones? It is also a form of traditional Chinese medicine because you can learn about the meridians and the pressure points with Tai Chi, the same way that you can with Qigong, or by studying Chinese herbalism, or by studying acupuncture. It's cardio too. It's a cardiovascular exercise. In Tai Chi and Qigong, you tend to lower your center of gravity. So you learn to actually straighten the spine, which is not something that most Westerners ever do. We think
Mhm.
that when we stand with our chest up, we have a straight spine, but in reality, you're curving your spine. You're uprooting your center of gravity. So when you drop the chest, you absorb the chest, you tuck the pelvis. So you're supporting the dantian, the energy center, the main lower dantian, the main energy center, and you soften up the knees, the chi can actually flow more freely through the body and you actually have a straight spine. So you learn all of that. So it is cardio because you're engaging the glutes and you're engaging the quads a lot when you're moving. You're kind of moving the whole time like you're standing under a short, like under a low ceiling. You're kind of walking with your knees a little bit bent the whole time. So it is also a good form of cardio.
Wow. Yeah. I guess just watching, you would never, think that it is cardio, right?
Yeah. No, I wear a fitness watch because it helps me stay accountable. And when I do an hour of Tai Chi, when I like do a Tai Chi class, either teach or attend one, my heart rate does go up, as
Mm.
you know, it's the same way it does when I'm going for a fast-paced walk with
Mhm.
my dog.
Can you show us what would be a point as far as acupressure, which would maybe help to lower stress or cortisol or something like that?
There's a few different ones. So for cortisol, the one that I mentioned before, knocking on the door to life,
Knocking down the arm, the
one where
body?
you're standing up and you're turning the hips from side to side and the arms are swinging. If you look it up, you'll find a bunch of videos that'll show you how to do it.
Yes.
But you're slowly swinging the arms from side to side, and it's hitting the lower back. Some other points that you can utilize, some easy ones, would be if you go onto your wrist and you go about 3 fingers below the wrist, right between the two tendons. There is a point right there. If you press on that point, and as you're inhaling, you release, and as you exhale, you squeeze that point gently. That's one way that calms mind and body, calms the heart, calms shame spirit. It's what we associate with insomnia and an overactive mind. So that's a really good one for that. Another excellent point that you can use is if you go on your shoulder and you find right in the center of the shoulder, right? It's either right at the top, or if it doesn't hurt when you press right at the top, try about an inch down behind it. That might be the spot today for you. But those are both points on the Sun Meridian.